Welcome back to the Football Forum, brought to you by the Bucyrus Telegraph Forum. I'm Joey Chandler, and as always, joining me later in the show will be Dan Messerschmidt and Henry Conti as we break down the best games of the week. Also, I traveled out to Galion to talk to head coach Chris Hawkins before the team heads to Bucyrus to compete in the historic rivalry, which also marks the 1,000th game for the Tigers program. And Henry traveled to Colonel Crawford for his Technique of the Week.
We're here with Coach Ty Stevenson. Ty, tell me what we're about to see.
We're going to do a drill that we work on during two-a-days. It's called a bird dog drill, how we introduce all of our run plays. The play that we'll work on today is called 26 buck. We run a two-back offense with a tight end and a wing, which is pretty rare today in high school football, but something that we really enjoy and something that our kids have really bought into. So we'll try to see how we do that today. Okay, first thing we do is we'll take one step. Let's get down, guys. They all freeze. We make sure everyone's footwork is correct. Okay, then we reset. 2 steps. Ready, go. Check the first 2 steps, make sure everybody's in proper form. Reset. Now they run the play. Up in the hole. Good job. On you whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone, we're here at the Galion High School Heisey Park football stadium office, and joining me is Tigers head coach Chris Hawkins. Chris, we talked a little bit at the beginning of the season about how you had a very youthful team last year, but it seems at 3-1 this point in the year that experience kind of paid off for the guys.
And that was the goal. I mean, we started 7 sophomores and a freshman last year, and when you do that in any league, and along with the NOL, and then we actually had a chance, should have been 7-3, and could have been 8-2. And you know, because of our inexperience, we lost a couple games we felt we shouldn't have, but we at the long run felt that that's going to pay off. And so now those kids that got 10 games under the belt as sophomores are now juniors, and I think that's a huge advantage.
Coach, you can hear the clanking of the weights in the background there. Your kids obviously working very hard. What does that in-season workout kind of do and benefit the guys?
Well, we really think it's important. I mean, we work really hard in the off-season. We go 3 times a week during the December. Then in February, we crank it up to 4 times a week. And I know a lot of teams, once the season starts, back it off to twice a week. We think it's so important we go 3 times a week. We go Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Monday's a heavy day, Wednesday's a moderate day, and Saturday's just kind of a high rep, high rep, low weight type of day. So we think it's very important. We just told our kids that we work so hard in the off season to gain strength. We don't want to take 8-9 weeks off and be weaker than we were at the end of the season. We were at the beginning of the season. So we kind of stress that in-season is very important. We do it a little bit differently. We don't hit the legs quite as hard, but we definitely think it's a necessary part to be playing your best football towards the end of the season.
You're new to the NCC this season, heading to Bucyrus Friday night in one of the oldest rivalries in the state. Do you think it adds anything to it that you're in the same league now, or is it just the same old rivalry game?
Well, I think so. I mean, because it's now a league game. I mean, it was always a non-league game. I think if you ask Bucyrus coaches and us, goal number 1 is league championship. And so in the past, ever since they got it in NOL, the past decade, it's always been a rivalry game, but it was never part of goal 1. It might have been helping get in the playoffs, but it was never goal 1. So now, with us being NCC, it now adds a little more to it. I don't know if it adds any more to the rivalry. I just think it adds to the importance of the game because it's now a league game. But, the Galion Inquirer, I talked to John Klein, I guess this is the 1,000th football game for Galion football, and he told me that last night. And he was kind of saying, isn't it kind of ironic that the 1,000th football game for Galion football is against one of the oldest rivalries against Bucyrus Redmond. So it's a game, and it gets for the KM Trophy, and again, I just see it as a league game. I know all the other people outside the communities from both schools see it as a rivalry game because it's so close. We just see it as step number 2 on a 7-step process.
Joining me now is Dan Messerschmidt and Henry Conti, and we're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to talk about the 3 key games around the NCC. Let's start with Dan. Want to talk a little bit about Galion and Bucyrus?
Well, of course, on paper this looks like a pretty lopsided, but you have to remember it's one of the oldest rivalries in the state of Ohio. So it's always said that in those games you kind of throw the records out and you kind of start from 0-0. And Bucyrus is going to be hungry for their first win. They're playing at home. I think the Redmen have a shot at an upset here. I know they didn't play well last week, but I think Coach Brunner will have them ready to play, so I'm going to go with Bucyrus for an upset.
Okay, and Henry, you want to talk a little bit about the Winford at Crestline game?
Yeah, this one is probably a little lopsided as well. Winford is don't get mad at me, but they're the class of the NCC, and until somebody else knocks them off, that's what they are. Crestline has been doing well, 3-1, but really got exposed last week by Colonel Crawford. Obviously, the run defense is lacking, and I think that's where Winford's just going to take control of the game early.
Okay, you mentioned Colonel Crawford. That's the last game we want to talk about. They're traveling to Lucas. You know, they got off to a shaky start at the beginning of the year. Didn't have all of their players, but their players are returning. They showed against Crestline last week, who was a team that everyone expected maybe to upset the Eagles with the way they played in the beginning of the year. Came back, had a great running game, and as you mentioned before we got on air here, Lucas also has a big running game, so it'll be interesting to see who can put the most yards on the ground Friday and who's going to come out with the win.